With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute updates on everything happening in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, and I give my thoughts on everything taking place around the National Football League today. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 7, 2024. It's week 2 of the college football season, and we head down to Tempe for the Snell Conference battle between two Power 4 schools, with the Mississippi State Bulldogs traveling out west to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Both of these schools won their opening game of the season, with ASU taking care of Wyoming handily, and with Mississippi State taking care of business against Eastern Kentucky. However, this is the Bulldogs' first game of the season against an FBS opponent, and the first time that head coach Jeff Lebby has ever gone up against a team not just on the road, but against a team on equal footing with his. If he can coach a good game and make a good first impression here, then this could go a really long way with raising the expectations for Mississippi State this season. And we'll get to that in just a bit, as you might be able to tell. The bad news for Mississippi State is that the game starts off as a disaster, as midway through the third quarter, the Sun Devils find themselves up by 27 points, leading at 30-3, and seemingly having this game under wraps. The good news is that despite falling behind by a ton, the Bulldogs, to their credit, were able to come back, showing some resiliency and making it a contest, as 20 straight points by the Bulldogs made it 30-23 by this point in the contest. Mississippi State is still trailing and is still the underdog at this stage in the game, but the fact that they made it close has to be respected. All they need to do is get a stop here on third down. If you get the stop on 3rd and 5, you're getting the ball back with a chance to go down the field and tie it or win it. And if you don't get the stop, while that would stink, you need to call your only timeout right away to maximize the time that you'll have left to do something. Let's see part 1 of the plan.
They handed off to Scatterbo, found a crease in that defensive front. Broke through 2 tacklers.
Well, that failed and ASU got the first down, but at least they're going to call a timeout and not let more time take off the clock for no reason. Right? Right?
And got it out to the 49 and picks up the first down.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something that look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something that look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this could possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of a college head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Mississippi State head coach Jeff Lebby. This is Lebby's first season as a head coach at any level, and this was his first game as a head coach against an FBS school. Obviously, coaches can improve as time goes on, and you figure that Lebby will be better at in-game management as the season goes on and he gets more reps in. But man, for a first impression, this was not good. Like, really not good. And if this is a sign of things to come, then the Bulldogs are in some serious trouble going forward. There was no reason for Lebby to manage his timeouts in this manner, and yet, he did. So that being said, let's take a look at why not calling a timeout with 2:06 left after Arizona State got the first down is a really bad idea. Obviously, in this spot, your odds of winning the game are not great, and I think that goes without saying. You're down by 7, time is clearly not on your side, and the opposition has the ball. However, you have a chance to get it back. Having said that, the only way you get the ball back is if you burn that third and final timeout, which makes sense. If you never burn that third timeout, Arizona State just takes it down to the 2-minute timeout, and then takes 3 knees and you can't touch the ball again. So this is not a situation where you have to weigh the importance of having a timeout versus having a few extra seconds on the clock. This is not a situation where you have to weigh the pros and the cons of having a timeout on offense, but fewer seconds to work with, versus having no timeouts on offense, but marginally more time. You have to burn that timeout at some point, no questions asked. Which means that you need to maximize the time you have available at your disposal, and you need to call that timeout in a way that is most beneficial to you, and gives you the most amount of time left on the clock to mount a drive if you get the ball back, which, spoiler alert, they did not, but it's still a critical error on Mississippi State's part for no reason whatsoever. And with that, we go to the chalkboard. If you've seen other episodes of Dumb Decisions on this topic, you know exactly where I'm going with this, and it's time to lay it all out. You've got two options here, with option 1 being to do what a smart person does in this spot, and that is call the timeout with 2:06 left on the clock. We're going to assume each running play takes 5 seconds, not just for simplicity's sake, but because that's what most plays take. First down, and Arizona State runs the ball, and it goes down to 2:01, where, at that point, the clock runs down to the 2-minute timeout. Second down, and Arizona State runs the ball, and it goes down to 1:55, where the clock runs down for another 40 seconds to 1:15. Third down, and Arizona State runs the ball, and it goes down to 1:10, where the clock runs down another 40 seconds to 30 seconds. Then, ASU punts the ball away on 4th down, and you're getting it back with 23 seconds left to do something, probably somewhere around your own 20-yard line. Is that ideal? Is it ideal to go 80 yards down the field in 23 seconds with no timeouts, and where any play over the middle of the field that is not a first down will end the game? Of course not. And no one is saying otherwise. No one is saying that if Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State play this right and manage the clock properly, that they're going to win the game. However, you can't deny the fact that it gives you a way better and a way more realistic chance than the alternative of what happens if you do the second option, which is to let the clock run all the way down to the 2-minute timeout for some reason. First down, and ASU runs the ball, and it goes down to 1:55, where you burn your third and final timeout. Second down, and Arizona State runs the ball, and it goes down to 1:50, where the clock runs down another 40 seconds to 1:10. Third down, and ASU runs the ball, and it goes down to 1:05, where the clock runs down another 40 seconds to 25 seconds. Then, ASU punts the ball away on 4th down, and you're getting the ball back with 18 seconds left to do something, assuming it's a 7-second punt, much like the first scenario. Which gives you more time to do something? 23 seconds or 18 seconds? Which gives you more time to call plays? It's the bigger number. Of course it's the bigger number. With 18 seconds, you probably have time to call 3 plays to get down the field. With 23 seconds, you have time to call at least 4 plays, and maybe even 5 plays. Even if we say 4 plays, with 23 seconds, if you're starting at your own 20-yard line after the punt, you need to average 20 yards per play at the end to have a chance at winning. If you have 18 seconds left, however, and you only have 3 plays, you need to average about 27 yards per play to have a chance at winning. Neither of those are easy, but one of those is significantly easier than the other. You might have 2 chances for a Hail Mary in the first scenario. You'll only have 1 chance in the second. You might have time to call an out route to start the drive off and just get 15 or so yards right away in the first scenario. You won't have that time in the second scenario. Those extra seconds make a huge difference, and it's something that coaches consistently don't realize in that spot. Jeff Lebby just wasted 5 seconds that could have been absolutely massive for his team's chances at trying to mount a comeback if his team got the ball back. That time was extremely valuable. There was no risk to taking the timeout whatsoever, and he didn't take advantage of it. And I can already see some people are saying, well, it's worth it in this spot to save the timeout, because if you don't call the timeout, Arizona State could throw the ball. Versus if you do save the timeout, there is no way that ASU is throwing. So you have a better chance at playing defense and getting the ball back. And sure, I could absolutely understand that defense if there was, let's say, 2:01 left on the clock or 2:02 left on the clock. If there was a situation where the 1 or 2 seconds won't matter and won't change the number of plays you can call, and if there was a situation where it was 3rd down and the goal might shift as a result from trying to burn the clock to try to win the game and get the first because there's no risk for throwing, then I totally get it. Trust me, I totally get it in that spot. But in no way whatsoever does that apply here. You cannot look at this situation and tell me for 1 second that this changes anything. With 2:06 left and on first down, ASU is not throwing the football. Passing plays can take 4 or 5 seconds to finish. But if they do finish and the ball falls incomplete, then the clock stops. And then you just gave Mississippi State an extra 40 seconds to play with. Because instead of the clock being able to run down to the 2-minute timeout, it runs down to 2:02 or 2:01. And you have to call another play. And if you have to punt the ball in this sequence, the Bulldogs are getting it back with more than a minute left on the clock. Trust me, there are times where that is valid. And this is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. But this was not one of those times. In no way whatsoever was this one of those times. And if that was Jeff Lebby's logic here, then it was incorrect. Plain and simple, point blank, it was incorrect. And for whatever reason, we've seen this epidemic go on throughout football this season at all levels, where teams are refusing to call a timeout before the 2-minute mark, even when it makes complete sense to do so. And they're using this as a crutch when it should be used as an advantage. We saw this happen in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers against the Philadelphia Eagles, in a game that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. We saw it happen in the NFL with the Denver Broncos against the Seattle Seahawks, in a game that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And even at the college level, we saw it happen back in Week 1 with North Dakota State against Colorado, in a game that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. If you have to burn all of your timeouts in order to have a chance at getting the ball back, then you need to do so in a way that maximizes the amount of time you have available at your disposal. And that is never, not once, included running the clock down to the 2-minute warning or 2-minute timeout and wasting those seconds for no reason whatsoever. Never has, never will. And maybe college coaches get a pass compared to pro coaches because this is the first year of the 2-minute timeout. But they've got to learn soon enough because this is happening far too often and is destroying teams and their chances at winning the game. So what do we learn from all of this? I swear, these coaches need a chart at the end of the game to tell them when to call a timeout. But here's the general rule of thumb. If you have one timeout left, the other team is first down, and you have that one timeout, and it's in between that 2:40 and 2-minute timeout range, where they can call a play and run it down to the 2-minute timeout, and where you have to take your timeout to get the ball back, no questions asked, then you must call the timeout before the 2-minute timeout. Clear, cut, and dry. Can't explain it any better than that. Those extra seconds can make a huge difference. And if you don't call the timeout, then you are only hurting yourself. If you use the 2-minute timeout as a crutch and not as an asset, then you don't know how to properly manage a game and how to properly manage a clock. Those 5 seconds could come in handy. And if you're saving the timeout in that spot for some reason, then you need to reevaluate your entire strategy. Whatever it is, you need to reevaluate it. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to cgiulianihpu.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.